Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about Valentine's Day and the history of it, so you gotta be being way in. So let's get into the name of this holiday. Emperor Claudius II of Rome was in rule during the 3rd century. He banned marriages for young men. His reasoning for this was because married men are less likely to go fight in his military. A man named Saint Valentine actually ended up doing under-the-table marriages and was later caught. Now, this infuriated Claudius II, so he had him put to death. The day he had him put to death on was, you guessed it, February 14th, today. So that may be one place where this all comes from, but there's still other legends. There's another account of a man named Saint Valentine under the rule of Claudius II, helping Christians escape from torture, which was no for the Romans back then, but this was before they became Christian. And Emperor Claudius II was infuriated by this and also had him put to death on February 14th. Catching on to something here. Another account of this that we have is a man named Valentine being imprisoned, and the person who jailed him, his daughter, began to start talking to him. He then left her a note. And at the end of the note, he left a common phrase even used today, "From your Valentine." So there's some possibilities of where the name for the day may have came from. But what about the whole love aspect? Well, you can see how some of that may have dealt with love, but Rome actually had its own holiday that was celebrated on the 13th, 14th, and then the big celebration was on the 15th of February. This was called Lupercalia. Roman legend for how the city was founded is based on two people named Romulus and Remus, two brothers. Now, one legend of them is that they were casted out and they were taken in by a wolf. Real weird. And were nurtured and grew up and founded the city of Rome. They later named this wolf Lupercal. So I plan to do a video on this holiday tomorrow, because that would be the day of the actual celebration. But for now, I'll just do a brief overview. Lupercalia dealt with priests that would strip naked. They would do some animal sacrifices and then cut the hide into little whips, and they would run around the streets of Rome. Women would then want to be hit with these whips. Being hit with the whips meant that you were going to be fertile for the next year. So, why not go out and have a naked priest whip you with some animal hide? I'm way in. At the end of the 5th century AD, Lupercalia was finally banned for not really being Christian, because by then Rome was Christian. And this was done by Pope Gelasius, if I'm pronouncing that right. He deemed the holiday unchristian, because people would run around naked and get drunk and do animal sacrifices. And he dedicated February 14th, the middle of Lupercalia, to be St. Valentine's Day. Now, that doesn't mean this whole holiday was like the modern version where people are out buying each other cards and loving each other. But you can see how some of the roots did lead to a loving kind of feel to it. But over time, in the Middle Ages, France and England actually believed that February 14th was the first day of the mating season for birds. So you can see where a little bit of influence comes in there. During the Middle Ages, Chaucer and Shakespeare wrote tons of things that would have romanticized this holiday, which really led to what this modern day version is that we know. By the 18th century, people of all social classes were beginning to be involved in this holiday and give each other little things of affection, whether it's written messages or buy them something small. But with the better printing technology coming out, cards became a very big thing. This really boomed the holiday, and it's been celebrated every year. And at this point, a lot of countries celebrate it, not just the United States or even the UK. And it's estimated that about 145 million cards are sent out each year on Valentine's Day. It's a lot. There you have it. There's a brief history of Valentine's Day. Tomorrow I'll be releasing a video on Lupercalia. You guys can find out what the ancient Romans would have done before there was a Valentine's Day. And you should totally subscribe, comment, like, check out our social media at Weigh In on Truth. I'm Dalton, and I'm way out. We'll see you.